Hello and welcome to DigiTales, episode 47 of season 3. My name is Faizan Syed, founder and CEO of East River. And today I have a very interesting guest. He is a former British Formula 3 racing champion, Enaam Ahmed. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks for having the time for us. I know that you are the youngest Pakistani, you identify as Pakistani, you're the youngest racer on the international circuit. Is that true?
Yes, I should think so. At the moment, yes.
That's amazing. And you recently won a race in Toronto as well.
Oh no, we came second in Toronto in the Toronto Grand Prix on the podium. This year's been doing well, so we've had a lot of podiums, alhamdulillah.
Amazing. So now tell me something. You identify as Pakistani. You're a racer on the international circuit. You've never lived in Pakistan, nor were you born in Pakistan. And what a coincidence that this is episode 47. Your racing number is 47, and Pakistan was founded in 47. So
Yes.
give me this connection. Why are you identifying as a Pakistani racer even though you're born in London, I believe?
It's a very interesting story. It's because, my whole life I raced, to be honest, under the British flag up until about this year. And I raced under the British flag. I won a world championship. I was world champion when I was 14. I was European champion when I was 14. British Formula 3 champion. I won a lot for the UK. But it came to a point in my life where I kind of realized where a lot of Pakistanis, I feel, that have this problem. There's a colonial mindset. And I felt like I was degrading myself in order to make other people in racing happy, to fit in with the British crowd. And I didn't feel like I was being who I really am. And then I kind of came to a point where I was like, you know what? I've represented the UK for a while, had a great time, but this is not me. This is not really who I am. I'm not representing my people. I mean, look at me. I'm brown. I mean, I'm not British by any means.
Right.
And then just after these experiences, I just decided, you know what? I want to represent my people and who I really am, because we are underrepresented, especially in all international sports. So I said, let's change it. And then since changing it, my whole life's changed. I didn't change. It was more of a disadvantage for me to change to the Pakistani flag. Believe me, I had sponsors, being under British flag, I had everything. But I kicked all that out because I wanted a fresh start. And then I changed to the Pakistani flag.
And it's been tough?
Yes and no. Everyone told me not to do it. Everyone. Okay. Literally everyone. No one advised me to do it, but I felt proud to do it because I felt like I was representing my people and who I am. And I want to prove to the world that we can be the best in anything that we do. That's my biggest motivation. Since changing, I was already very motivated as a driver, but like my motivation's gone through the roof, and I'm willing to die on track to prove that we can be the best on the world, because we can be. We're such a talented country in everything that we do in any walk of life, but there's no opportunity. I've been lucky that I've been given an opportunity, and now I'm going to show the world what we can do. That's why I changed.
Amazing. And now tell me, how did you stumble into racing? Racing is not a cheap hobby. It's very expensive. And then to stay committed, starting with karting, give me a background on how you began into racing.
I started off go-karting, just, my local track in Hertfordshire at the time. And then
how old are you?
I was 8. I was lucky that my parents were able to finance me in my early go-karting career. But after that, I was British champion when I was 12. And then when I went to race European and World Championship, that's when it starts to get really, really expensive. And it's hard to be able to do things. But luckily, because of my record, I was able to attract sponsors. And I always been this in my life. You had to win. I always had to perform, because I knew if I didn't perform, racing's finished, because I'm relying everything on sponsors. So that's what motivated me to become world champion. When I became world champion at 14, I picked up all these sponsors. Right, let's go car racing, Formula 4. I was British Formula F4 rookie champion when I was 15. Then I went to British Formula 3 and I won British Formula 3. And then even though winning British Formula 3, unfortunately, to go to Formula 2 is like you need a lot more funding behind you. And the sponsors that I had were great, but it was not enough to go to Formula 2. So then I was left in a point in my career where I was like, what do I do? After Formula 3, I went to go race in Japan. So in 2019, I was 18 years old, going 19. I went by myself to live in Tokyo for 1 year to race. and I love racing in Japan. I came third in the championship. I won a lot of races. I learned Japanese. I know more Japanese than Urdu,
Wow.
you know. So I embraced myself in the culture, and I always been like that. I have to do what I got to do to race, and I have to win. It's always do or die, all or nothing. Always been.
So walk me through this again, and just so that everyone understands, there's a progression in racing. So everyone starts with go-karting when they're under 10 years old. And then they move to Formula 4 if you become a go-karting champ.
Yes, but
And what's the difference between the cars?
So obviously go-karting are small little karts, but racing in a world championship level, there's like 5,000 kids entering it, and it was extremely competitive, extremely aggressive.
So 5,000 children entering the Formula 4 series.
No, that was in go-karting. And in Formula 4, it's about 20, 25 kids. And it's usually the best from karting that they take. And
so 5,000 kids from karting competing for, let's say, 20, 25 spots in Formula 4.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah.
And exactly. Formula 4, what kind of cars are they? How are they set up?
They're very basic single-seater open-wheel cars. I mean, they're little wings. It's a school car. It's for kids who are 15, 16. You know, you don't want to give them something too fast.
How fast can they go?
I mean, they still do like 140 miles per hour.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Formula 3 is when the cars become proper racing.
And what kind of engines do the Formula 4 cars have?
They were just like 2-liter, like 180 horsepower. Like
okay.
Nothing special.
So then in Formula 4, there's 20, 25 kids who've competed. Then the winners of that, those guys go into Formula 3.
Precisely, yeah.
And then Formula 3 is sort of more competitive, faster, bigger engines?
Formula 3 is probably, at the time when I was doing it, especially European Formula 3, was the hardest series you could do outside of Formula 1. The year before I did it, Lando Norris went from there to Formula 1. The year before Lando, Max Verstappen went from there directly to Formula 1. That's how highly rated it was. And wow. I enjoyed my time racing there. I raced some of the best drivers in the world. 3 of them are in Formula 1 right now. I've raced my whole life, like Mick Schumacher. I raced Mick Schumacher since I was 12, 13 years old. And I was a world champion, European champion. He came second to me in both. We raced each other all the way up through our career. And we've been fierce rivals.
Wow. Okay. So interesting. So you can make the jump from Formula 3 to Formula 1 and skip Formula 2 entirely.
Yeah. At the time when I was doing that was back in 2018. That was the kind of trend at the time. Now they've stopped people from doing that. They want you to do Formula 2 first.
Right.
But at the time, yes, that's what you could do.
So would you say Formula 2, and then obviously Formula 1 is the most competitive, most coveted, most glamorized, and so on, right? Is there a path where you end up, let's say, peaking and you end up stopping at Formula 2? What are the options then? I mean, I noticed that in Toronto, you were for a Pro 2000 series. Now, how do the races then branch out if you're not in the Formula, let's say, 4 through 1 progression?
So my issue was to race in Formula 2. In Europe in general, to become a professional driver, it's extremely hard. And the thing is, even Formula 1 now, a lot of the drivers that have come in recently have all brought a big sponsor with big money behind them. And now it's the same in Formula 2. If you want to get with a good team in Formula 2, you need to be bringing minimum like 2 million euros to do it.
Wow.
Like, that's how much you have to bring. And like the thing is, even though I won British Formula 3, I still didn't pick up enough of a sponsor to do Formula 2. So I was in a situation where, I can't, my parents can't afford to do that anyway. So I can't really do that. And then I never been the kind of person where, I want to force people into a corner. I had my sponsors they've been loyal to me. I said, right, we're going to make this work. I left home at a young age, always been independent from that point of view, bringing my own sponsors in, finding a way to race, taking jobs here and there, always been hustling. And then I said, right, I got a call from Japan. Let's take it. One-way flight, eyes closed, just took it. Then I raced in Japan for 1 year, had a really good time. Japanese people were very good to me. And I came third in the Japanese racing series there. And I still have a lot of friends there, a lot of respect for a lot of people there. And then COVID started, didn't really race for about 1.5 years, 2 years, because the sponsors I had at the time, they ran out of money during COVID. Mm-hmm. So then I was kind of left without racing seat for a bit. Then I got a call out of nowhere to come to America. And then I came end of last year to America, hadn't raced in a long time. And I joined this team called Juncos, and they said, oh, look, our driver's pulled out. We want you to drive. Let's see what you can do. And in my first race, I came second, and I nearly put it on pole. And because of that, and I beat my teammates, they signed me up this year for a full season. So that's how I ended up here in America.
Amazing. And so now what's the progression now? So you're not in Formula 3. You've done a Japanese racing series. You're in America racing. Where does it go from here? Because American racing is slightly different from, let's say, the Formula racing. They do an oval style race, right?
Yes. So in America, we have street courses like in Toronto, which is like Monte Carlo. You have normal circuit racing, and then you have ovals. American cars are very similar to Europe. They're open wheel, single seater. The Indy Pro I'm driving is the same level as British Formula 3. Then the next level is Indy Lights, which is Formula 2. Actually, no, they're quicker than Formula 2 nowadays. And then you have IndyCar, which is like the competitor to Formula 1. The reason why I came to America is because in Europe, even when you won, there was no support system. Even if you're a Formula 3 champion, Formula 4 champion, you don't get any funding or prize money to move to the next level. There's so many friends of mine I know, drivers, that we just ran out of money after Formula 3. Not many people could afford to do Formula 2 with a big sponsor behind them. In America, it's different. That's why I came here. In America, if you're winning and you're doing well, there's big prize money and there's big support system. For example, I'm in the Road to Indy. It's a ladder system. If you win Indy Pro 2000, you come top 3, they give you the scholarship money to fund you to do Indy Lights. So as long as you keep doing well, you're always going to keep going up. Europe doesn't have that.
When you say scholarship money, what do you mean by that? Why do you need scholarship money?
So the championship gives you the money. So for example, this year to win Indy Pro 2000, it's like $750,000 in scholarship money that gets given, and then so we can move up to the next level.
And so you actually paid that money and you invest that money into the next level.
We can't actually take it. We can't actually cash it. The championship,
it's your buy into the next level is what it is.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay.
That's what Americans are good at.
Versus the British don't actually give you the ability to buy into the next level.
No, European racing in general, there's nothing like that. Even Formula 2, I have a friend of mine, he won Formula 3, he won Formula 2, and he still didn't get to Formula 1.
Wow.
It's like, what do you have to do?
So why do you need the money? I mean, you said that a racing team can recruit you to race for the team.
Yes.
So why wouldn't that option be the better option? Why do you need the individual sponsorships to make the progressions?
Because in this level, the team subsidize. So they'll subsidize you to as much as they can. But in these lower categories, you still need funding. As you know, you race, you still need funding to be able to do it. And then when you get to a stage of IndyCar, then you're fully paid. You don't need to worry about that at all. At this level of racing, as you know, it's not really like that, unfortunately. And you have to hustle a lot to raise that kind of money.
So a lot of people say racing is racing, right? So it doesn't matter if you do open wheel, if you do sort of circuit racing, touring car racing, rallying. There's so many options, right? Mm-hmm. Why would you restrict yourself to open wheel racing? Why not start looking at other options? Because if you're a good driver, you're a good driver. You can enter rallies, you can enter the WRC, you can enter, you can enter you can enter the British Touring Car Championships. Why not look at other avenues?
Next year, actually, inshallah, I've had a potential option to look into sports car racing in America to do the long races, like the 12-hour races, 24-hour races in GT3. I've done a race with Aston Martin in GT3 2019. I did the 9-hour race in Kyalami in South Africa. It was a Blancpain endurance series, all pro drivers. We were against all the factory teams of Mercedes, Ferrari, Lamborghini. You had us and Aston Martin, Porsche, Audi. Everyone was there. It was a very competitive race. I came third. I'm sorry, no, we qualified third, and it was a very good. That was my only really other race I've done outside of open wheel. And then my goal is to do IndyCar and to do an endurance program at the same time, because I like to keep racing, keep busy. And the good thing is that there's a lot of at the moment in sports car racing, there's a lot of funding in it. in the sense that there's a lot of sponsors involved in sports car racing, and there's demand for a driver like me going into sports cars, and I've had approaches from some teams which I would like to potentially commit to.
So sports car racing would be your traditional sports cars like Porsche or Ferrari that you'd be racing on track, like the GT3 level races. Yep.
Yeah,
Interesting.
like Le Mans and all those kind of things. But my main goal is I want to get to IndyCar. I want to win the Indianapolis 500, and I believe I deserve to be there. I have the skill set to do it, and then we'll see where life takes me after that. If it's Formula One, maybe, but I don't know.
No, and power to you, and all the best wishes for you to make that happen. Now, the question I have also is that as people are watching this, I'm sure that there's some out there that are inspired that say, hey, you know what? I'm sitting in here in Pakistan, or I'm sitting in some desolate place, and I want to get into this sport. What would you recommend would be the right path for someone, be it 10 years old, be it 50 years old? Someone who's really interested in racing, how would you recommend they get into racing?
I'd recommend, well, I know that there's a few go-karting tracks in Pakistan. I'd recommend start there, first of all. Do as many laps as you can. But then after that, honestly speaking, there's no infrastructure for real road circuit racing in Pakistan. So I was lucky that I was born in London. So the racing hub of Europe, if you want to become the best driver, you have to race in the UK in the beginning. Like it's the most competitive. That's why there's so many good British drivers, even in Formula One. It's so competitive in the UK. And I would recommend that, if you get to a certain level, you have to go do go-karting in the UK. That's where I learned everything. And alhamdulillah, I was blessed, to be honest, that I was raised there, because if I wasn't, then I would never have started racing. And me growing up there against the best British drivers, in general in racing, especially in the Formula One record standpoint, the most good drivers in Formula One history have all come out of the UK. And I don't know why that is. Maybe because there's a massive racing culture. Racing is so big in the UK. There's tracks everywhere. People are racing all the time. And it's always raining, so we're always practicing in the rain, sliding around. We have very good car control, generally growing up in the UK compared to most other countries. Yeah, that's the only thing I can say. Then you got to hustle from there, because you have to win and you have to hustle, because without that, you're not going to get a sponsorship to move up. That's the sad reality of racing. So
basically, it's the sport for the rich, is what you would say.
It is. That's why I'm going to break that with the Pakistani flag and prove that we can do that in any sport we want to do. And I always had the belief that I'm going to get there. I don't care. There's been so many times where it looks like I was going to stop or things didn't go our way, but I always believed that I'm going to get there. And that's always been my driving force. I'm so determined because I know I have the talent to do it. So why put that to waste? God didn't put me in this sport for nothing. I didn't win all these things in my life just for nothing to stop. No, he's making my life hard, but he's making me the best driver I can be. And compared to most drivers, not most drivers, but a lot of drivers have had it easier because they have a lot of parents with money behind them. Yeah. There's a lot of drivers in Formula One now that are like that. But I really believe the experiences I've gone through is as what's made me a champion and what's going to make me even stronger than all of them when I go to race them again.
And have you considered sponsors in your sort of the country you identify with, your home country, Pakistan, right? Have you considered looking at sponsors here and inviting them to come with you on your journey?
I've started inviting people to my races. To be honest, all my sponsors, not one of them is from Pakistan, mainly from America and the UK. But I'm open to it. It's just whether they see a hole in the market for them. Because when you're what people have to understand, when you're getting a sponsor, you have to always look what's in it for them. And if you can't see what's in it for them, they're they're definitely not going to do it. And I was going out at 13, 14 years old. I was basically a salesman raising this kind of money. And I got good practice at it. And I've learned after all these years how to do it. And in Pakistan right now, I don't see what's really in it for them. But
because you're catering to international audiences, the Pakistani sponsors want to cater to Pakistani audiences, and there's no racing in Pakistan, right?
But what I'm going to change is, for example, all my races in Indy Lights next year in IndyCar, they're all obviously shown live in America, and all the drivers, whether they're from Sweden, Germany, France, all their countries broadcast their races within their country. I would like, one of the channels in Pakistan to broadcast my races next year, because, I know A Sports now, for example, they broadcast Formula One. In my opinion, I'm the only Pakistani racing now going to IndyCar. They should broadcast their races in Pakistan, because all the other drivers from different countries, all their races are shown in their country.
Very good point. And I think that's one way to drive interest as well within the local population.
Exactly. That will get the population into motorsport. And that's how we're going to start this. And then we'll get more people started in racing, because, just like in the Pakistani Air Force, our pilots are some of the best in the world. I really believe with piloting machinery, we have an innate ability to do that better than most people.
Right.
Naturally, we never had the facilities to do it. Even the Air Force, they don't necessarily have the best planes or the money behind them to like the US Air Force or any of these other countries, but they are the best. And that's
it requires will and skill.
Exactly. And we have that more than anyone.
That's true. That's true.
Even though I was born in London, I'm the UK. Genetically speaking, I'm the same as you.
Yeah.
And I believe that's born in my nervous system. Just because I wasn't born in Pakistan doesn't mean I'm not Pakistani.
Right. Fair point. Now, I want to switch gears and I want to ask you a couple of things. First of all, so we were very clear. We discussed sort of the progression and the path, right, in which you take to move from, let's say, karting all the way to Formula One, how you can branch out into the US in different races. Somewhere along the way, let's say you cap, you peak, it doesn't work out. I mean, you've committed, or an individual has committed their life, their teens, their early 20s to racing. And let's say they peak, and that's it. They cap out, let's say, Formula 2 or Formula 3 or whatever. How do you build a career for yourself? Like, what does a career look like if you're not the number one Formula One driver? Like, where do the drivers go? Do they get a job at Audi, for example? I mean, what ends up happening with racers?
Well, some of the guys that don't necessarily make it in single seaters, they end up going to do like some sports car things or things like that. But, a lot of people don't make it, not necessarily because they're not good enough, but it's because that they, the circumstances didn't give them the opportunity to be able to show their full talent. But, if I was to come into a situation where I had to stop racing, the good thing is, I was brought up being an athlete, because, since a young age, doing a sport like racing, training, all these things, the focus, determination you had to have from a young age, the discipline you had to have, that's molded me. And I feel like compared to a lot of people my age, I have a lot more life experience and common sense than most people. Common sense is, believe it or not that common. So, I feel like any business I would start or get into, obviously I would have failures, just like anything in life. I'm not saying I'm going to be going to be way better than anyone else, but I feel like I can do things to the same perfectionist standard as I would put towards racing. And if you notice, a lot of athletes who are some of the best in their sport, as long as they're not dumb, they're genuinely clever, they become phenomenal businessmen after they're done with sport, because you just have that discipline and you have that drive to be perfect in anything that you do.
And you talk about being an athlete and you talk about discipline. Walk me through what your training looks like when you are in race season.
Well, training never stops for me. Even off season, I train the most, because that's when you make the biggest gains. For example, you drive in Indy Pro, Indy Lights, IndyCar, you don't have power steering. It's extremely heavy. And when the downforce of the cars gets pressed on and you have the big slick tires, the steering in IndyCar is stupid heavy. Like, you have drivers getting out the cars after the race and collapsing, because they had now in IndyCar, they have to have these cool wire suits to keep your body cool, because people are passing out, because it's just so physically demanding for 2 hours of racing. So we have to be, in America, I've especially found I've had to change my training. I have to be way stronger than I was in Europe, because the cars are so heavy, no assistance. They're very old school, big power, blunt force trauma. You have concrete walls. It's a lot more aggressive.
Right.
In Europe, you have power steering and it's different. It's more on the neck. In Formula One, you just have to worry about your neck being strong and having good endurance, because the steering is light. But in IndyCar, you have to be super strong neck, and you have to have an endurance like a triathlon. When you say
endurance, what do you mean by endurance?
Well, your heartbeat is going between 180 and 200 beats per minute in a race for 2 hours.
Wow. But you're
And
not
when you're
moving. I mean, you're not physically moving though. How is your heart rate that high?
because the G's that one, the stress, because it feels like you're about to get killed every minute. That stress enough brings your heart up. Second, the G's, between IndyCars between 4 to 5G. That's like similar to what they get in a fighter plane. So
Right.
if you ask a fighter pilot why they have to be fit, they'll show you why. If you jump in the plane with them, you have to it's so hard to maintain your head up. Your neck has to be strong because when you're wearing the helmet, your head weighs 5 times more than what it does when it's normal. 5 times the weight. So your muscles have to be way stronger.
Right.
And also just the stress of racing people, driving a car on the limit. When you're driving a car and you're constantly out of control because every other guy around you is out of control trying to overtake you and you're pushing with a gun to your throat, that gets tiring too. And being able to do that consistently without making a mistake, that's where the fitness comes in. Because any guy can be quick, not being physically strong or fit enough, but they can't last a race without making a mistake or crashing. If you want to be able to last and keep your focus without getting tired, because everyone gets really tired in the races, the fitter, stronger you are, the better you're going to be. Then it's an endurance race.
So you're saying that it's your fitness level that allows you to last longer between your mistakes or between your 0 to first mistake, and it's the mistakes that actually can cost you the race.
Well, actually, when you're fitter, you make a lot less mistakes because you don't get tired. Mistakes, yeah. You don't get tired when you're unfit and you get tired and you don't have the strength to keep pushing maximum all the time and having the car sliding out of control close to the walls. Then the fitness comes in. When the guys get tired, I can tell when someone's tired because you can just tell by the body language of their car when you're catching them. They just don't have the strength to fight you. They physically can't turn the steering wheel anymore. That's how you take advantage. If you look at the IndyCar drivers, how big and strong they are compared to Formula One drivers, it's a big difference.
Interesting. And tell me this, this sounds a lot like, it's pretty much every sport business is about fitness, is about endurance, is about lasting as long as you possibly can without getting tired. What's a good routine to maintain if someone wants to sort of be at their best in this sport?
I train twice a day, every day.
So twice a day, wow! And you do strength training and you do aerobic.
We do a lot of circuits. So we do strength-based training mixed in with cardio circuits. So basically, we never stop. So when I train, as soon as the session starts after you warm up, you don't rest for that 2.5 hours for the first session because that's what it's like in the car. You have to lift heavy weights, you have to run, you have to row, you have to ski, you have to climb the ladder, you have to do pull-up, you have to do everything, and you can't rest. We have to keep our heart rate at 180 the whole session. As soon as you rest and you haven't got the willpower or the strength in your mind to keep pushing, then at that point in the race, you're going to make a mistake because you're going to need to have a rest. We can't afford to do that, and we do that twice a day.
There was Tag Heuer once had this really famous tagline. It was called "Success, it's a mind game."
Yeah.
Do you believe that it is a mind game, or is it a function of how strong your body is?
No, I believe racing, especially, is a sport, as you know too. It's all in the mind. It is probably one of the most mental sports. If you don't know how to control your mind, you're gonna struggle as a driver.
So you just talked about spending 2.5 hours training your body, and that's twice a day, right? 2 times a day you're training your body. How do you train your mind? How do you learn to control your mind?
Through trauma. What I've gone through in my life to get here, the struggles I've had, my family's had, that trauma, the many traumas that we've had is what builds you and toughens you. And also, I've had a very clinical mindset into the way I analyze myself. No one is a bigger critic than myself. And when I look at myself, I understand what my weaknesses were. For example, when I was younger, especially even now, but I'm a lot more under control about it now. Being Pakistani, genetically speaking, we're generally hot-blooded compared to most people. We tend to be more on the emotional side. And when I was struggling with emotional control, when I was sometimes in Formula 3, in go-karting, and when things weren't going how I wanted, I realized, why can I not control my mood? Why do I suddenly shoot up and then drop down and then da-na-na-na-na? And then I looked at my mom and dad's side of the family, and then I was like, oh my God, I see the same traits in them. something that's coming, being Pakistani, we tend to be more emotional. So
Right.
once you understand that's innate in you, you understand how to control it. Then I understood to do different. For example, the way I train my brain is different to someone else coming from another country. Every country that a guy comes from has different qualities and negatives. We have our negatives too. Our positives too. Our positives are we're all or nothing, we're very brave, and we just do it and we'll get it done.
Right.
We have that in any other country. And once I understood how to control the variables in my brain, that's what's made me into a professional and to a much more consistent driver especially in the last year. So,
and if someone wants to take some of that learning and apply it to their everyday life, they're not a racer, they're just someone who lives an everyday normal life. They go to work, they raise a family, they just want to be the best version of themselves. What do you think they can do as good exercise for their mind to be able to control their mind better?
What's so funny about the world we live in now? The world we live in now is full of distraction. That's the biggest problem. What I realized is that even when let's say you're lying in bed, you turn on the TV, that's distracting you from what that time could be used thinking about what's going on in your head. Looking at your phone, all these things. I take time out of the day, an hour. Usually when I go to bed, I just think about stuff. I think, why did I feel like this today? I always question things. I never get told things that don't question why. I always question why. Why do I do this when this happens? Why do I do this when that happens? Why does he act like this to me? And why do I drive like this in this situation? Always questioning why. And when you really question yourself and you look into yourself, you will find the answer. I can't find the answer for you. A therapist can't find the answer for you. It's you with you, man. It's always been like that. And I've seen psychologists in my life. I've seen therapists. And to be honest, it's never really worked. I kind of realized that in this world, you're alone, and you have to, as a man, you need to find out these things and your weaknesses by yourself. No one can hold your hand and do it for you. And this is very important. Once you realize that, it's a scary reality, but that's how you move forward and you become way stronger.
That's profound, man. I mean, I'm impressed. I mean, for someone as young as you've sort of figured out what people in their late 40s are still trying to figure out, right? Is how to control the mind and how to stay positive, optimistic, and how to stay free of distraction.
Yes, I've always been at war. The sport I'm in is war. Life is war, whether you like it or not. It is war. It's a sharp world we live in, and no one's going to help you, man. And the quicker I realize that, then I realize how to control my own head and make things work.
Amazing. And you keep coming back to your Pakistani roots, and we also know that Pakistani parents love the traditional, kids are doctors, lawyers, engineers, bankers, right? You've obviously gone off and to a different tangent. How do your parents feel about this at this point?
My mum's never watched me race in 15 years.
Wow. Why is that?
She's too scared to watch it.
Yeah.
My father, it was actually, believe it or not, so when I started, my father wasn't really that into me getting into it. But I said to my mum, I said, Mum, this is really what I want to do. And please let me follow my dream. Don't stop me. Please just let me do it. I was 8 years old when I said this. And my mum told my dad, let him do it. And then they let me kind of do my thing. And then I proved them to my parents and to everyone that I not only could win, I could become champion. In my life, I've won 8 championships, to my name. I've won championships in Europe, world championships, car racing.
53 podiums, I think I was reading. 53 podiums?
Yes.
That's
exactly.
a correct state? Yeah. Wow, that's a lot of podiums.
So
do you think your parents thought you would ever have 53 podiums? Maybe they said yes because they're like, oh, he'll get it out of the system by the time he's 10.
I think in the beginning they thought that, but my dad, when he saw what I could do and how willing to, I didn't care, man. Like when I jumped in a go-kart, I had no fear. I wanted to prove to them that I could be the best. And even though I was, generally speaking, I was not a confident child. I was not at all. I was a very quiet, timid kid. But I forced myself to become aggressive and become like a lion in racing in go-karts. Because as you know, go-karting is very aggressive. It's very contact sport. You get bullied very easily. And I had to force myself. And I really believe every person has this fire within them. You just have to learn how to activate it. If you saw me at 7, 8, 9 years old, you would think, how the hell is this kid going to be a racing driver? Honestly, I was so like unconfident, quiet, but I wanted it as well so much. I lit the flame. And once I lit the flame and I used my desire, I was going and I said, nothing's going to stop me. Nothing. Doesn't matter if I have no sponsor, no nothing. I'm going to find a way. And that's always the way I've been. Always find a way and we get the job done, no matter what.
Amazing.
No excuse.
When was the last time you were in Pakistan?
Last time I was in Pakistan was a long time ago, but I'm coming in September and I'm coming in December after the season.
So we got to get you in on some races over here. There's a big rally scene here. The go-kart scene is really picked up. Unfortunately, we don't have tracks the way you do in the UK, but you should definitely come and check out the rallying scene that takes place here, which is actually fairly competitive.
Yeah,
I think you'd be a natural.
I'm always up for learning something because I know, I don't know anything. I don't know anything about rallying or how to drive quick off-road, but there's going to be so many things I can learn that I can bring into the circuit racing that I would love to learn from you about car, things like that. And I'd be really happy to do that.
Now, rallying has been, I've done it maybe 5 or 6 times and I've made podium once. I came second. I think it was the greatest learning experience of my life. And just being able to manage variables and the point around endurance, it's all a mind game. You are only as good as you are rested. The minute you start getting tired, you make more mistakes. And the minute you make mistakes, the guy behind you who's waiting for you to make mistakes catches up and passes you. That's the last thing you want, right? At that point in time. Yeah. Interesting. Enaam, it's been a great chat. Really enjoyed chatting with you. Always love finding people who are passionate about motorsports, just like I am. And of course, you're Pakistani and you're burning the Pakistani flag. Right, well, you're not burning the flag, but you're carrying the torch, the Pakistani torch. Do not burn the flag. And hopefully you're able to get the kind of success that you are really, really striving for. So all power to you. Best of luck. And hopefully we'll hear more from you soon. And when you're in Pakistan, you have to come race with us.
I will, 100%, of course.
Perfect. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of DigiTales with Enaam, and see you guys next time. Bye-bye.